The baby would not stop crying. Deho walked back and forth across the small room above his repair shop, bouncing little Nari against his shoulder. His eyes burned from lack of sleep. His back ached. The baby had been screaming for 2 hours straight, and nothing he did helped. Not the bottle, not the clean diaper, not the soft singing that Hyerin used to do. But Hyerin was gone. 3 months now. The mining accident had taken her and 7 others when the support beams failed in Tunnel 12. Deho tried not to think about it. He had to focus on Nari, on keeping the shop running, on paying the bills that kept piling up on his desk downstairs. The colony of New Hanul was not kind to failures, and lately, Deho felt like he was failing at everything. The repair shop used to be busy. Before the accident, people trusted him. He had been a military engineer before coming to this frontier world. He knew ships, knew machines, knew how to fix things that others said were broken beyond repair. But after Hyerin died, the customers started going elsewhere. Some blamed all the human workers for the accident. Others just felt uncomfortable around a man drowning in grief. Nari screamed louder. Deho felt tears burning in his own eyes. He was so tired, so incredibly tired. Then he heard the knock. It was past midnight. Nobody came to the shop this late. Deho stopped walking and listened. Maybe he had imagined it. Maybe exhaustion was playing tricks on his mind. The knock came again. 3 slow, heavy thuds on the metal door downstairs. Deho carried Nari down the narrow stairs, his heart beating faster. New Hanul was not a dangerous place, but it was not entirely safe either. Frontier colonies attracted all kinds of people, and not all of them were good. He reached the door and looked through the small security screen. His breath caught in his throat. Standing outside was a draconid. A dragon woman. She was massive, at least 7 feet tall, with dark green scales that looked dull and damaged in the harsh light above his door. Her wings were folded against her back, but he could see tears in the membranes. She wore simple gray clothes that were dirty and torn. Her yellow eyes stared directly at the camera. Deho's hand moved to the door lock, then stopped. Everyone knew about draconids. They were warriors. Proud. Dangerous. Their empire controlled several systems in the Outer Rim, and they did not mix with other species much. What was one doing here? What did she want? The dragon woman raised her hand and knocked again. Softer this time. Deho made a decision that he knew was probably stupid. He opened the door but kept the security chain attached. The gap was only a few inches wide, yes? He said, trying to keep his voice steady. The dragon woman looked down at him. Up close, she looked even worse. Her scales were scratched and dirty. One of her horns had a chip in it. She looked exhausted, just like he felt. Work, she said. Her voice was deep and rough, and her human language was broken. Need work, any work. I clean, I lift. I fix, please. Deho stared at her. A draconid asking for work? That made no sense. They were warriors and nobles. They did not beg. I have no money to pay workers, Deho said. It was true. He barely had enough to feed himself and Nari. No pay, the dragon woman said quickly. Just food. Place to sleep, please, I work hard. Behind him, Nari was still crying. The dragon woman's eyes moved to the baby, and something changed in her expression. It softened. Baby sick? She asked. No, Deho said tiredly. Just crying. She does that a lot now. The dragon woman made a low sound in her throat. It was like a rumble or a purr. To Deho's complete shock, Nari stopped crying. The baby turned her head toward the door, toward that strange sound, and went quiet. Her little fist went to her mouth, and she just stared with wide eyes. Deho looked down at his daughter, then back at the dragon woman. He should close the door. He should tell her to leave. Taking in a draconid would cause problems. The other colonists would talk. Counselor Bora would ask questions. But Nari was quiet for the first time in hours. And the look in the dragon woman's eyes was not dangerous. It was desperate. It was the same look Deho saw in his own mirror every morning. He made another stupid decision. He closed the door, removed the security chain, and opened it wide. One night, he said. You can stay one night in the back room of the shop. There is a cot there. In the morning, we will talk about work. The dragon woman's eyes went wide. She nodded quickly, her head moving up and down several times. Thank you. Thank you. I work hard, you see. Thank you. She stepped inside, having to duck her head to fit through the doorway. Her wings scraped against the frame. She smelled strange, like hot metal and sulfur, but not unpleasant. Just different. Deho closed and locked the door behind her. He showed her to the back room, which was really just a storage space with some old furniture. There was a cot that he sometimes used when he worked late on repairs. He gave her a blanket that was probably too small for her size. Bathroom is there, he pointed. Kitchen upstairs. Help yourself to food if you are hungry. I am Deho, this is Nari. The dragon woman touched her chest with one clawed hand.
Velika, she said. Deho nodded and turned to go back upstairs.
He needed to put Nari to bed. He needed to sleep himself. Deho? Velika's voice stopped him. He turned back. She was standing in the doorway of the small room, looking even larger in the confined space. Why you help me? She asked. Humans not like draconids. Draconids not like humans, why? Deho looked down at Nari, who was falling asleep against his shoulder, finally peaceful. He thought about Hieron, about being alone, about how the colony had turned cold toward him. Because you asked, he said simply. And because everyone needs help sometimes. Velika stared at him for a long moment. Then she placed her clawed hand over her heart and bowed her head, a gesture of respect. I remember this kindness, she said. Deho went back upstairs. He put Nari in her crib and watched her sleep. The apartment was quiet now. Below him, he could hear soft sounds as Velika settled into the back room. He had just let a draconid warrior into his shop. This would cause problems. He knew it would. But as he fell into bed and felt sleep finally dragging him down, he realized he did not care. For the first time in 3 months, Nari had stopped crying. That was worth any problem that might come. Tomorrow would bring questions and complications. Tonight there was just quiet, and for now that was enough. Outside, the twin moons of New Hanul set below the horizon. The colony slept, unaware that something had changed, that a widowed mechanic had opened his door at midnight, and that single choice would ripple outward in ways no one could predict. In the back room, Velika lay on the small cot and stared at the ceiling. She had not expected kindness. She had expected the door to remain closed as so many others had been. But this human, this tired man with the crying baby had let her in. She touched the mark on her chest hidden beneath her shirt. The mark that said she was fireless and shamed. The mark her own people had given her before casting her out. Maybe here among humans that mark would not matter. Maybe here she could be something other than a failure. She closed her eyes and for the first time in weeks felt something like hope. Morning came too quickly. Deho woke to sunlight streaming through the window and realized with a start that he had slept for 6 straight hours. 6 hours. He could not remember the last time that happened. He sat up quickly and looked at the crib. Nari was awake but quiet, playing with her small cloth toy. Then he remembered. The dragon woman. Velika. Deho got up and went downstairs carefully, not sure what he would find. Maybe she had left during the night. Maybe he had dreamed the whole thing. But when he reached the shop floor, he stopped and stared. The place was clean. The tools that had been scattered across the workbenches were organized and sorted. The floor had been swept. The parts bins were labeled. And in the corner, working on the broken plasma drive that had been sitting there for 2 weeks, was Velika. She had her large hands inside the engine casing, and she was humming that same low rumble from last night. She did not notice him at first. She was completely focused on the machine. What are you doing? Deho asked. Velika jumped and pulled her hands out quickly. Sorry, I not break. I just look. I like machines. Deho walked closer and looked at the plasma drive. She had removed the damaged capacitor and had already started cleaning the connection points. It was exactly what needed to be done. You know engines? He asked. Velika nodded. On Homeworld I study machines. I like to build, to fix, but draconids say this not proper work. Say I should fight, should be warrior. She looked down at her clawed hands. I not good warrior. Deho understood more than she probably realized. He had been a soldier once and he had hated it. The structure, the violence, the way people became just tools for war. When his service ended, he had come to New Hanul specifically to get away from all of that. Can you finish this repair? He asked, pointing to the plasma drive. Velika's eyes brightened. Yes, easy. Need new capacitor and must recalibrate the flow regulator. I can do. Then do it, Deho said. If you want to work here, show me what you can do. Velika nodded eagerly and turned back to the engine. Deho went upstairs to feed Nari and get breakfast ready. When he came back down an hour later with the baby in his carrier, the plasma drive was humming smoothly on the test bench. Velika stood beside it, looking proud. Deho ran diagnostics. The repair was perfect. Better than perfect. She had improved the efficiency by almost 8%. Where did you learn this? He asked. I learn by doing, Velika said. I watch, I try. I understand how things work. Always been this way. My clutch mother say I born wrong. Say I have builder mind and warrior body. Over the next few days, Velika proved to be the best worker Deho had ever seen. She could lift engine components that normally required 3 people. Her scales were heat-resistant, so she could work on overheated systems without protective gear. She learned fast and never needed to be told something twice. And somehow, whenever Nari started to fuss, Velika would make that rumbling sound and the baby would calm down immediately. But the colony noticed. Of course they noticed. A 7-foot dragon woman was hard to miss. On the 4th day, 3 men came to the shop. Deho recognized them as workers from the mining company. They stood in his doorway with crossed arms and angry faces. We want to talk about your new employee, the first man said. His name was Taman, and he had been friends with Hieron once. What about her? Deho asked, keeping his voice level. She is a draconid, Taman said, as if this explained everything. You cannot trust them. They are warriors, violent. What if she hurts someone? What if she hurts your baby? Deho felt anger rising in his chest. She has been nothing but helpful. She works hard and causes no trouble. That is what they do, another man said. They gain trust, then they strike. Everyone knows this. Everyone knows stories, Deho corrected. Has anyone here actually been hurt by a draconid? Or are you just afraid of someone different? The men looked at each other. They did not have an answer. You should be careful, Taman said finally. People are talking. Counselor Bora wants to see you. They left after that. Velika had been in the back room during the conversation, but Deho knew she had heard everything. When he went to check on her, she was sitting on the cot with her head down. I should leave, she said quietly. I cause problems for you. No, Deho said firmly. You stay. They are wrong about you. They not wrong, Velika said, and her voice was full of pain. Draconids are warriors, are violent. I am broken one. I do not fit with my people. I do not fit with humans. I fit nowhere. Deho sat down on a workbench across from her. Nari was asleep in her carrier on his chest. My wife died 3 months ago, he said. The colony blamed the human workers, said we were careless, said we cut corners. Some people still will not talk to me. They see me as a reminder of that day. He paused. But that does not make them right. They judge me without knowing, just like they judge you without knowing. Velika looked up at him with those yellow eyes. Why you different? Why you not afraid? Because I saw you with my daughter, Deho said. I saw how gentle you were, how careful. Actions matter more than species. At least they should. The next day, Counselor Bora came to the shop herself. She was a stern woman in her 50s who ran the colony with strict efficiency. She did not smile when she entered. I need to speak with your draconid worker, she said. Velika came out from the back room, her head held high despite the nervousness in her eyes. You need to register as an alien worker, Bora said. There are rules about non-humans living in human colonies. You need permits, background checks, regular inspections. She is not just a worker, Deho said. She is my business partner. Bora turned to him sharply. That is a significant legal designation. Are you certain? Yes, Deho said, though he had not planned to say it until that moment. Velika has skills I need. Together we can make this shop successful. We are partners. Bora studied them both for a long moment. Very well. I will process the partnership papers. But understand if there are any problems, any complaints, this arrangement ends immediately. After she left, Velika turned to Deho. Why you do this? Partner is serious thing. Because it is true, Deho said. You have made this shop better in 4 days than I did in 4 months alone. And because the rules for partners are different than for workers, they cannot restrict you as much. Velika's eyes went soft. She touched her chest in that gesture of respect again. I owe you life debt now. This is sacred thing for my people. You do not owe me anything, Deho said. Just help me fix machines and keep Nari from crying. That is payment enough. That evening after the shop closed, Velika told him her full story. She had been promised in marriage to a warlord named Kethrin. It was meant to be a political union between clans, but when she refused, saying she wanted to build things instead of destroy them, her clan had been furious. They marked her as fireless, a term that meant she was weak and brought shame to her bloodline. They cast me out, she said. Say I no longer have clan. No longer have name. I am nothing. She showed him the mark on her chest, a brand in the shape of a broken flame. This say I am failure. Draconid without fire is dead already. You are not a failure, Deho said. You are different. That is not the same thing. In Draconid culture, different is failure, Velika said sadly. Then maybe Draconid culture is wrong, Deho said. Velika looked at him for a long time. Then she made a sound that might have been a laugh. Yes, maybe it is. Over the next 2 weeks, the shop started to improve. Word spread that Deho had a Draconid partner who could repair things others could not. Some customers stayed away, but others came specifically because of Velika. The money started coming in again. Slowly but steadily, Deho and Velika fell into a routine. She worked in the shop during the day. He handled customers and paperwork. In the evenings, she helped with Nari, and the baby grew attached to her. Nari would laugh at Velika's rumbling sounds and reach for her scales. It was strange. It was unconventional. It was exactly what both of them needed. But peace never lasts long on frontier worlds, and the past has a way of catching up no matter how far you run. The alarm woke everyone in the colony at 4 a.m. It was the emergency siren, the one that meant something terrible had happened. Deho grabbed Nari from her crib and ran downstairs. Velika was already at the door, her wings half spread in alarm. What is happening? She asked. Deho turned on the public communication channel. The voice of the emergency coordinator filled the shop. Collapse at main mine. Tunnels 7 through 12 are completely blocked. 47 people are trapped inside. Emergency crews are responding. All available personnel report to the mine entrance immediately. Deho felt his blood turn cold. Tunnels 7 through 12. That was the same area where Hyeron had died. He had sworn he would never go near those tunnels again, but 47 people were trapped. And among them, according to the updated reports coming through, were 6 children who had been on a school tour of the mine. I must go, Deho said, already moving toward his equipment locker. I have rescue training from my military service. I come too, Velika said. No, stay with Nari, keep her safe. Velika opened her mouth to argue, but Nari started crying, sensing the tension in the air. Velika picked up the baby automatically, and Nari quieted against her shoulder. Keep her safe, Deho repeated. I will be back. He drove his small vehicle to the mine as fast as he could. When he arrived, there were already dozens of people there. Emergency crews, families of the trapped workers, volunteers. Everyone looked scared. Counselor Bora was coordinating the response. When she saw Deho, she nodded grimly. We need everyone with engineering experience. The main tunnel is completely blocked. We are trying to dig through, but it is unstable. Every time we remove debris, more falls. Deho looked at the mine entrance. Smoke was coming out thick and dark. He could feel heat even from here. What caused it? He asked. Magma breach, one of the engineers said. His name was Junho, and he looked exhausted. A new volcanic vent opened up directly under Tunnel 9. The heat caused structural failure across the entire section. The temperature inside is over 800 degrees in some areas. 800? Deho repeated. Our equipment cannot work in that. We know, Junho said grimly. We are trying to cool the area, but it is not working fast enough. The people inside have maybe 6 hours of air left in the sealed sections, maybe less. Deho joined the rescue efforts. They tried everything. Cooling systems, drilling from different angles, sending in heat-resistant robots. Nothing worked. The tunnels were too unstable. Every attempt to dig through caused more collapses. And the heat kept rising. 4 hours passed, then 5. The families of the trapped people were crying now. Some were praying. Some were just standing in silent horror. Deho sat on a rock outside the mine entrance, covered in dust and ash. His hands were shaking. They were going to fail. 47 people were going to die, and there was nothing anyone could do about it. His communication device buzzed. It was a message from Velika. I can help, it said simply. Deho called her immediately. What do you mean? Draconids evolved on volcanic world, Velika said. 800 degrees is hot, but not deadly to me. I can survive for short time. Maybe long enough to reach trapped people. No, Deho said immediately. It is too dangerous, even for you. More dangerous to do nothing, Velika said. Children are trapped. Babies like Nari, I must try. If you do this, everyone will know what you can do, Deho said. They will know you are more than just a worker. It could cause problems. Big problems. There was silence on the line for a moment. Then Velika said, "You told me actions matter more than species. Now I prove this true. I come now." She arrived 20 minutes later. She had left Nari with Yuna, the woman who ran the shop next to theirs. Velika walked straight to Counselor Bora. "I can enter mine," Velika said. "I can survive heat. I can carry people out." Bora stared at her. "Is this true?" "Draconids live on volcanic worlds," Velika said. "This heat will hurt, but not kill. Not quickly." "She is lying," someone shouted from the crowd. It was Taman, the man who had confronted Deho weeks earlier. "Draconids cannot be trusted. This is a trick." "My wife is in there," a woman cried out. "Let her try, please." Bora looked between Velika and the mine entrance. Deho could see her calculating, weighing options. Finally, she nodded. "Do it. But if this is a trick, if you harm anyone—" "I harm no one," Velika said firmly. "I save. This is what I do." They gave her a communication headset and a map of the tunnels. Velika studied it for only a minute before nodding. "I understand. I go now." "Wait," Deho said. He stepped in front of her. "You do not have to do this. You owe these people nothing." "I owe you everything," Velika said softly. "You give me place when I have none. You trust me when no one else trusts. You show me that different, not same as failure." She touched her chest. "I do this because it is right. And because you teach me that right matters." Deho wanted to argue more, but he could not find the words. Finally, he just said, "Come back. Nari needs you." "I need you." Velika's eyes softened. She touched his shoulder gently with one clawed hand. "I come back. I promise." Then she turned and walked into the mine. The heat hit her immediately. Deho could see her scales shimmering, reflecting the orange glow from inside. She spread her wings to shield herself and disappeared into the smoke. Everyone waited. The communication channel was open, so they could hear her breathing, hear her footsteps on stone. She moved fast, much faster than a human could have. "I see first group," she said after 10 minutes. 5 people. They alive but weak. I carry them out now." It took her 15 minutes to bring the first group to safety. They were barely conscious, suffering from heat exhaustion, but alive. Medical teams rushed them to treatment. Velika did not stop. She went back in immediately. Second group. 8 people. Tunnel is blocked. I must move rocks. They heard crashing sounds over the communication channel. Velika was using her strength to clear the collapsed tunnel. It took 30 minutes. When she emerged with the second group, her scales were darkened by soot, and her wings showed burn marks. "I am fine," she said when the medics tried to stop her. "More people inside." "I go." She went back 4 more times. Each trip took longer than the last. Each time she emerged, she looked worse. Her scales were cracked in places. One of her wings was torn. She was breathing hard, and Deho could tell she was in pain, but she kept going. On the 5th trip, she found the children. They were in a sealed classroom section that had protected them from the worst of the heat, but their air was almost gone. Velika carried 3 children at once, 1 under each arm and 1 on her back. She made 2 trips to get all 6 children out. By the time she brought out the last group, Velika could barely stand. 47 people had been brought to safety. Every single person who had been trapped was alive. But Velika collapsed as soon as the last person was clear of the mine. Deho ran to her. Her scales were burned in multiple places. Her breathing was shallow. Her eyes were closed. "Get the medical team," he shouted. The doctors came, but they stood there helplessly. "We do not know Draconid medicine," one of them admitted. "We do not know how to treat her." Deho knelt beside Velika and took her large hand in his. It was burning hot to the touch. "Velika, stay with me. Tell me what to do." Her eyes opened slowly. "Molt sleep," she whispered. "My body will heal, but I must sleep. 3 days, maybe 4. I will be vulnerable." "You will be safe," Deho promised. "I will make sure of it." "The babies?" Velika asked. "All safe?" "All safe, because of you." Velika smiled slightly. Then her eyes closed again and she went completely still. Deho's heart stopped until he felt her chest still rising and falling. She was breathing. She was alive. They moved her to the medical center, though the doctors could do little except make her comfortable. Deho stayed beside her the entire time. Nari was brought to him, and he held his daughter while watching his friend sleep. Outside, the colony was in chaos. Some people were calling Velika a hero. Others were afraid. now that they had seen what she was truly capable of. And somewhere far above, unknown to anyone in the colony, a message was being sent across the stars. A Draconid ship had detected Velika's energy signature, and it was coming to New Hunnel. 3 days after the rescue, Velika still had not woken up. She lay in the medical center bed, her large form taking up twice the space of a normal patient. Her scales had gone pale, almost gray, and there were cracks spreading across them like a pattern of dry earth. The doctors said this was part of the molt sleep process, but they were nervous. They had no way to know if it was normal or if something was going wrong. Deho barely left her side. He brought Nari with him and set up a small area in the corner of the room with the baby's supplies. Other people visited. The families of those Velika had saved came to leave flowers and gifts, though Deho was not sure if Draconids even appreciated such things. Some people came just to stare, to see the alien who had walked through fire. On the morning of the 4th day, Counselor Bora came to see him. "We have a problem," she said without greeting. "A big one." Deho looked up from the chair where he had been dozing. "What is it?" "A Draconid warship entered our system 6 hours ago. They have demanded to speak with our leadership about a fugitive in our colony." Bora's face was grim. "They want Velika." Deho stood up so quickly that he nearly dropped Nari. "They cannot have her." "It may not be that simple," Bora said. "The ship is military grade. It has weapons that could destroy our entire colony in minutes. Earth's navy is 3 weeks away, even if we call for help right now. We are on our own. What do they want with her? I do not know. They will not say, but they have given us 48 hours to produce her, or there will be consequences." Bora looked at Velika's sleeping form. "I need to know everything about her, everything. Why is she here? What did she do?" Deho hesitated. Velika's story was hers to tell. But she could not speak for herself right now, and the colony was in danger. He told Bora everything Velika had shared with him. About the arranged marriage to Warlord Kethrin. About refusing because she wanted to build instead of fight. About being marked as fireless and exiled from her clan. Bora listened without interrupting. When he finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "So she is a refugee," Bora finally said, "and the warlord wants her back." "She is a person who refused to be treated as property," Deho corrected. "And we should protect her. At what cost?" Bora asked. "I have 4,000 people in this colony, families, children. Can I risk all of them for one alien?" "She risked everything for those children in the mine," Deho said. "Does that not matter?" "Of course it matters," Bora snapped. "But I have to think about everyone. I have to make the hard choices." She left after that, and Deho knew what she was thinking. She was calculating whether sacrificing Velika was worth saving the colony. He could not blame her for it. Leaders had to think that way. But he did not have to agree with it. That evening, Deho made calls to everyone he knew who had connections off-world. Old military friends, trading contacts, anyone who might have information. He needed to understand what they were dealing with. One of his old squad members, a man named Jinwoo who now worked in military intelligence, called him back. "I looked into your Draconid," Jinwoo said. "Deho, she is not what you think." "What do you mean?" "Velika is not just some random exile. She was one of the top engineers in the Draconid Empire. She designed their new generation of plasma drives. That technology is worth billions. When she refused the marriage to Warlord Kethrin, it was not just a personal insult. She took that knowledge with her." Deho felt his stomach drop. She never said anything about that. She probably did not think it mattered. But to the Draconids, she stole state secrets. The marriage was never about politics. It was about transferring her knowledge to Kethrin's clan through their breeding traditions. When she ran, she took that away from them. So they want her for her mind, not for punishment. Exactly. And they will not stop until they get her, or until she is dead and the knowledge dies with her. After the call ended, Deho sat in the dark room and watched Velika sleep. She had never mentioned being important. She had asked for work, any work, and had been grateful for a cot in a storage room. She had cleaned floors and lifted engine parts and made his baby stop crying. She was extraordinary. And she had pretended to be ordinary because that was all she wanted to be. On the 5th day, the warlord arrived. His shuttle landed at the colony's main platform with an escort of armed Draconid soldiers. Kethrin was massive, even by Draconid standards, nearly 8 feet tall with blood-red scales and black horns. He wore armor decorated with battle honors and carried himself like someone who had never lost a fight. Counselor Bora met him in the colony's council chamber. She allowed Deho to attend, though she warned him to stay quiet. Catherine spoke human language perfectly, his voice deep and commanding. I have come for the one called Velica. She is property of my clan by right of contract. You will return her to me. She is under the protection of this colony, Bora said carefully, and she has committed no crime here. She broke a sacred bond, Catherine said. She shamed her bloodline. She stole knowledge that belongs to my clan. These are the highest crimes in our culture. Your culture, Bora pointed out, not ours. She is in human space now. She has rights here. Catherine's eyes narrowed. You would protect this broken thing? This fireless weakling? She is nothing. She has no honor, no strength, no value. Deho could not stay quiet anymore. She saved 47 people. She walked through 800-degree heat. She carried children to safety. That is not weak. Catherine looked at him for the first time, and his gaze was like being studied by a predator. And who are you? Her friend, Deho said, and her business partner. Catherine made a sound that might have been a laugh. A human, of course. She would hide among lesser species. He turned back to Bora. I will give you one more day. Produce Velica, or I will take her by force, and anyone who stands in my way will die. This is not a threat. This is a promise. He left after that, his soldiers following. The room felt colder after he was gone. We cannot fight him, Bora said quietly. We have no weapons that can match a Draconid warship. Then we need to buy time, Deho said. Earth needs to know what is happening here. I have already sent messages, Bora said. But the closest military ship is 3 weeks away. We need help now. That night, Deho stayed at the medical center again. He had nowhere else to be. Velica would wake up eventually, and when she did, what could he tell her? That he had failed to protect her? That the colony was going to trade her away to save themselves? Around midnight, Velica's eyes opened. She blinked slowly, taking in the room. Then she saw Deho sitting beside her bed with Nari asleep on his chest. I am alive, she said, her voice rough from disuse. You are alive, Deho confirmed. You saved everyone. All 47 people? Good, Velica said. Then she noticed his expression. What is wrong? Deho told her everything. About Catherine arriving. About the ultimatum. About what Jinwoo had told him regarding her importance to the Draconid Empire. Velica listened without showing much emotion. When he finished, she simply nodded. I expected this, she said. Catherine is not one who accepts losing. He will not stop. She looked at Deho with sad eyes. I should go with him. Save Colony. Save you and Nari. No, Deho said firmly. There has to be another way. There is no other way, Velica said. He is too strong. You cannot fight him. Maybe I cannot fight him with weapons, Deho said. An idea was forming in his mind. A crazy, probably stupid idea. But there might be another way. Velica sat up in bed, her scales making soft clicking sounds as they shifted. What are you thinking? Deho looked at his daughter sleeping peacefully. He thought about Hyerin, about the choice she had made to go into the mines every day even though it was dangerous. About the choice Velica had made to walk into fire for people she barely knew. I am thinking, he said slowly, that sometimes the only way to win is to make sure everyone is watching. The next morning, Deho went to see Counselor Bora with his plan. She listened, and her expression went from confused to shocked to something like respect. This is insane, she said when he finished. It will probably get you killed. Probably, Deho agreed, but it is the only way I can think of that does not end with Velica in chains. Even if it works, even if by some miracle you survive, this will change everything. You understand that? I understand. Bora was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded. I will help you. But Deho, if this goes wrong, I cannot protect you. I know, he said. I am not asking you to. Deho sent a message to Warlord Catherine through official channels. The message was simple. He challenged Catherine to single combat under Draconid law. If Deho won, Velica would go free and Catherine would have to leave the system. If Catherine won, he could take Velica without any resistance from the colony. The entire colony thought he had lost his mind. Humans did not fight Draconids. It was suicide. Draconids were bigger, stronger, had natural weapons like claws and fire breath. Even trained human soldiers avoided direct combat with them. But Deho was counting on something important. Draconid culture valued honor above everything else. If Kethrin refused the challenge, he would look weak in front of his own warriors. And if he accepted, he would have to follow the rules. Kethrin accepted the challenge within an hour. The combat would take place at the colony's main square in 2 days. Deho used that time to prepare. He worked in his shop building something that most people did not understand. Velika tried to help, but he made her stay at the medical center to finish recovering. "You do not have to do this," she told him. "I am not worth dying for." "Yes, you are," Deho said simply, "and I am not planning to die." On the day of the combat, half the colony gathered in the main square. The other half watched from their homes on video feeds. Kethrin arrived with his soldiers, looking confident and amused. To him, this was probably entertainment. A human thinking he could fight a Draconid warlord. Deho stood in the center of the square wearing the exo-frame he had built. It was a mechanical suit designed for deep space repair work, with enhanced strength and reinforced plating. It was not military gear, but it was the best he had. "Is this your champion?" Kethrin asked Counselor Bora, gesturing at Deho with obvious disdain. "This small human in his toy machine?" "I am my own champion," Deho said. "Let us begin." But before the fight started, Deho did something unexpected. He activated the broadcast system he had set up. Suddenly, this fight was not just being watched by the colony. It was being broadcast on open channels across multiple systems. Any ship, any station, any settlement could tune in and watch. "What is this?" Kethrin demanded. "You wanted to reclaim your property in front of witnesses," Deho said. "I am just making sure there are plenty of witnesses." Kethrin's eyes narrowed, but he could not back down now. Too many people were watching, including his own warriors. The fight began. Kethrin was faster than Deho expected. Even with the exo-frame, Deho could barely keep up. The warlord's claws tore through the frame's armor like it was paper. His tail whipped around and knocked Deho off his feet. His fire breath forced Deho to retreat again and again. Deho fought back as best he could. He used the exo-frame's strength to hit hard when he could. He used the thrusters to dodge some attacks. But it was clear to everyone watching that he was losing. Badly. After 5 minutes, Deho was on the ground, his exo-frame sparking and damaged. Kethrin stood over him, one clawed foot on his chest. "You are brave for a human," Kethrin said. "But bravery without strength is just stupidity. Yield, and I will kill you quickly." Deho coughed, tasting blood. But he smiled. "I do not need to beat you," he said. "I just need people to see what you really are." Then he started talking. Not to Kethrin, but to the cameras, to everyone watching across the stars. "My name is Deho," he said, his voice being broadcast to thousands of viewers. "I am a mechanic on a frontier colony. 3 months ago, my wife died. I was left alone with a baby daughter and a failing business. I was drowning." Kethrin pressed down harder, but Deho kept talking. "Then a Draconid came to my door at midnight. She asked for work. She had been exiled by her people for refusing to be property, for wanting to build instead of destroy. And I let her in. More ships were arriving in the system. Deho could see them on his suit's damaged display. Trading vessels, independent freighters. Word was spreading fast. That Draconid, Velika, became my friend, my partner. She saved my business, she cared for my daughter, and when 47 people were trapped in a mine with 800-degree heat, she walked into that fire and brought every single one of them out alive. The crowd in the square was completely silent now. Even Kethrin's warriors were listening. Now this warlord comes to take her back. Not because she committed a crime, not because she hurt anyone, but because she refused to be used as a breeding tool to transfer her knowledge to his clan. Because, in his culture, brilliant minds are property to be traded and controlled. Deho looked directly at Kethrin. "I am human. We are not the strongest species, we are not the fastest or the toughest, but we came to the stars with one idea that we will never surrender. that every thinking being has the right to choose their own path, that no one should be property, that kindness and cooperation matter more than strength and conquest. More ships kept arriving. The local space was filling up with vessels from a dozen different species. They were all watching now. So yes, I am losing this fight, Deho continued. I am broken and bleeding, but I would rather die on my feet defending a friend than live on my knees accepting that might makes right. Because that is what humans do. We stand up for what is right, even when it is stupid. Even when we cannot win. We stand up anyway. Catherine roared and raised his claws for a killing blow. But then his second-in-command, another Draconid warrior, stepped forward. Warlord, the warrior said carefully. The galaxy is watching. Catherine froze. He looked around, at his warriors, at the crowd, at the cameras broadcasting everything. He had won the fight. But if he killed Deho now in front of thousands of witnesses after that speech, he would be seen as a tyrant. As the villain in this story, and more importantly, Deho's plan had worked in another way. The square was no longer empty of defenders. 15 families, the families of the people Velika had saved from the mine, were standing between Catherine and his ship. They were not armed. They could not fight. But they were there, forming a wall of bodies. You want her? Shouted one of the mothers whose child Velika had saved. You go through us first. More colonists joined them. Then more. Within minutes, hundreds of people had formed a barrier. Not to fight, just to stand. To be witnessed standing. And around the planet, those ships that had arrived were powering up weapons. Not military ships, just traders and independent captains who happened to be armed. They would not win against a Draconid warship, but they would make it costly, and it would all be on camera, broadcast across the galaxy. Catherine looked at Deho, at the crowd, at the ships above. His expression was unreadable. You are clever, human, he finally said. You turn my victory into my defeat. You make me the monster in front of the entire galaxy. I just showed everyone what was already true, Deho said. Catherine stepped back, removing his foot from Deho's chest. By Draconid law, your pack has come to your defense. This shows strength. You have earned the right to keep what you protect. He looked toward the medical center where Velika was watching from a window. She is no longer fireless. She has found a new pack. Tell her this shame is lifted. Then Catherine turned and walked back to his shuttle. His warriors followed. Within an hour, the Draconid warship left the system. The crowd erupted in cheers. People rushed to help Deho out of the damaged exoframe. Velika pushed through the crowd and dropped to her knees beside him. You are idiot, she said, tears streaming down her scaled face. Brave idiot. I learned from the best, Deho said, managing a painful smile. The doctor checked him over. Broken ribs, fractured arm, internal bleeding. He would need surgery and weeks of recovery, but he would live. That night, after the surgery, Deho woke up in a hospital bed to find Velika sitting beside him, holding Nari. The baby was awake and playing with one of Velika's claws. Thank you, Velika said quietly, for everything. For seeing me as person, not as thing. For showing galaxy that different, not same as less. For being my pack. You are family, Deho said. That is what family does. Over the next few months, something changed in the colony. More refugees started arriving. Not just Draconids, but beings from dozens of species who did not fit in their own cultures. The Colony Council officially renamed New Hanul to Sanctuary and advertised it as a haven for anyone seeking a new start. Deho's shop expanded. Velika trained other refugees in advanced engineering. Together, they built a business that became one of the most successful in the sector. But more than that, they built a community, a place where being different was not a weakness, but a strength. One evening, 6 months after the challenge, Deho received a coded message. It was from 23 other fireless Draconids, asking if Sanctuary would accept them. They had skills to offer. They wanted to build instead of fight. They were looking for a pack that would accept them,